Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the story about Naruto. What if Naruto had Dragon Sage? Part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please do support for more awesome content and also hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and also support the creator of this fanfic. I have created many playlists, check it out in the channel. So let's start the video. This was his last hope, his last chance to become a shinobi of Konohagakure no Sado. He needed to do this to learn a jutsu from this damned scroll he had been assigned to take by his academy teacher, Mizuki. He had failed the genin graduation exam 3 times, each time because of one jutsu that he just couldn't get right, no matter what he tried. His name was Uzumaki Naruto, and he was the Jinchuriki of the most powerful of the Biju, the Kyuubi no Yoko. Okay, let's see. The first jutsu is Taju Kage Bunshin on jutsu, and then a summoning contract? Hand seals are asking for my signature in blood. Okay, Naruto thought with a shrug and bit his thumb. He quickly signed the contract inside and smiled, got it now for the Taju Kage Bunshin on jutsu. 3 hours later Iruka jumped down into the clearing as Naruto sat panting on the ground, clearly out of breath. About time, nosebleed. I found you, Naruto spoke with a grin. No you fool. I found you. Iruka shouted in anger. Heh, I guess you have got me. Too bad you were so fast. I've only memorized 2 jutsu, Naruto said as he scratched the back of his neck. You look exhausted. What the hell have you been doing? Iruka asked, confused at seeing his state. Wait until I show you. I never dreamed some of the jutsu in this thing are amazing, Naruto said cheerfully. If I show you I've mastered these jutsu then you'll let me pass, right? Who told you that? Iruka asked, confused. Mizuki-sensei said, if I learn a jutsu from the scroll then you'll let me graduate, Naruto replied with a smile. Mizuki? Iruka's eyes widened in surprise and he turned quickly. He pushed the blonde out of the way before being bombarded by a volley of shuriken. I'm impressed that you figured out where to go, Mizuki commented as he dropped down in complete combat gear. Now I understand, Iruka grunted out as he held his now bleeding side. The scroll Naruto gave to me, Mizuki demanded. What is this? Naruto asked in surprise and a little fear. Don't let him have it, Naruto. Protect that scroll with your life. Iruka shouted to him as he kept his eyes set on the traitorous Chunin. It's more dangerous than you can imagine. It holds the record of all ninjutsu and kenjutsu known by Konoha. Mizuki used you because he wants it for himself. Naruto, even if you've read Naruto, it will still be meaningless. I can show you what it means, Mizuki offered with a smirk. Shut up. Iruka shouted with rising fear. There is no way Mizuki would. Naruto, you know what really happened 12 years ago when Kyuubi no Yoko was defeated, don't you? Mizuki asked with a whitening smirk. Mizuki, stop. Don't. Iruka shouted, now thoroughly afraid of what was coming. Since the incident the people of our village have been bound by the highest decree, Mizuki continued unaffected. What are you talking about? Naruto asked as he felt his throat going dry. You wouldn't remember because the decree was that everyone would know except you. Mizuki was now openly grinning from ear to ear. Why not me? Naruto stammered out. Because you are the Kyuubi no Yoko. Mizuki shouted with glee. Naruto stood still not knowing what to do. What? You are the Kyuubi, the monster which assaulted and rampaged through Konoha 12 years ago until finally you were defeated and bound to your current form by our beloved Yondaime Hokage. Mizuki continued. Stop it. Iruka shouted to the traitor. Since then, you've been made a fool of by everyone in the village. Didn't you ever think it was strange? To be despised everywhere you went? You killed Iruka's parents too. If he were honest, even noble Iruka would admit he hates you too. Mizuki yelled as he spun his Fuma shuriken in hand. No one will ever accept you. That scroll you now carry was the key to your ceiling. Demon. He threw it towards the blonde. Iruka jumped in the way and the shuriken pierced his back, foolish Iruka. Why? Naruto asked as he looked up at his former teacher's face. Forgive me, Iruka said tearfully. If I'd been a better teacher and a better person then maybe it wouldn't have come to this. Naruto dashed away into the trees a moment later. Naruto. He called after the boy. It's over, Iruka, goodbye old friend, Mizuki said as he slashed down with a kunai. And blood started to pour onto the unforgiving ground. Got to get away, must get away, Naruto thought as he cast a glance behind him. Naruto, came the shout and he saw Iruka jumping beside him. Give me the scroll. It's what Mizuki is after. Protect that scroll with your life. You are the Kyuubi no Yoko. Naruto turned quickly and slammed his full weight into Iruka, forcing them both to drop to the ground. You, Iruka, rasped out as he tried to get to his feet. What's wrong, Naruto? He asked before his illusion dropped, signifying it was Mizuki instead. How did you know I wasn't Iruka? He demanded. I didn't, Naruto chuckled and leaned against a tree. But Iruka-sensei told me to guard this scroll, and that is exactly what I intend to do. So noble, why? Don't you want the power? You and I are the same, Naruto. We both want something. Give me the scroll, and I will give you whatever you desire, Mizuki said as he held out his hand. Not a chance, Naruto shot back. I'm nothing like you, Mizuki team. The traitor looked at him in disgust, then said goodbye to the demon fox. He shot forwards with Fuma shuriken spinning in hand, die. Naruto's eyes widened before forming several hand seals instinctively. Kuchiyus no jutsu, a moment later a large poof of smoke signified the appearance of a summoning. What? Mizuki thought in surprise, and he stopped a few feet away. Holy, that's of a large dragon several meters long appeared from the smoke and turned its gaze on him. There is no way that demon could summon a dragon, the traitor thought in slight fear. This boy, it's been a while since I was last summoned. I shall test his worthiness later, but for now I am hungry, and I certainly smell a desirable meal. Prepare to die, mortal, the dragon's menacing voice spoke before his head shot forward. No. Mizuki thought before he was devoured by the large beast in front of him. The dragon turned towards the blonde boy and noticed he was now unconscious. Probably exhausted himself. I must take him away from here and back to the mountains. Perhaps that human village nearby will prepare him for the trials ahead, it thought, as it picked the boy up and took off into the night sky with the scroll. In his office, the Sandaime Hokage, Saratobi Hiruzen, watched sadly as the boy he had come to view as a grandson was taken away by a dragon. Part of him wanted to send a team after them, but was clear that they were now too far gone to be retrieved, and he knew that Naruto wouldn't be returning to Konoha as one of its citizens, not when he would experience the outside world away from Konoha. There was the fact that he now knew he was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and with the way he was told, it wouldn't be pretty if he were to turn his angered gaze on Konoha. Without knowledge of the dragon's destination, Konoha couldn't send anyone to look for the boy, nor the scroll which held one of the only things that could open the seal on his stomach. The scroll contained a key to Naruto's seal. Naruto Hiruzen thought worriedly. Land of Lightning, Kumagakur no Sato Raikage Tower. Here is today's paperwork. Raikage-sama spoke to an attractive female jonin as she carried a large stack of papers into the office. Raikage-sama, she asked hesitantly. And so the most powerful shinobi in Kumo, the Raikage, Killary snored as he slept at his desk with the morning sun glaring through the window. Raikage-sama. You need to do today's paperwork, she shouted in his ear. Who? What? Where? Why? He asked frantically as he awakened. Today's paperwork is Raikage-sama, the aide said with a smile. It was always interesting working for this man. He was childish at times and seemed to be level-headed at others. He was a hard case sometimes, but only when it concerned his younger brother and/or the previous Raikage's granddaughter. After the Sandaime Raikage passed away with young Yugito's parents, he had basically become the girl's adoptive father, and he loved her as the daughter he never had. Speaking of which, he still needed to sort out her team for when she graduated later today. At this rate, her team would be missing 2 members. He already had a sensei picked out, his own brother, since he was the Hachibi Jinchuriki. If worse came to worse, then he would have Kurabi take her as his apprentice. Raikage-sama, his aide asked hesitantly. What is it? He said as he turned serious at her sudden withdrawn look. He turned to where she was pointing and his eyes widened slightly. That's a dragon. What the fuck is a dragon doing outside my window? Indeed it was. The massive creature came to a stop just outside of the window and set a small blonde child down on the balcony with a scroll attached to his back. It took one look at the Raikage and then disappeared in a puff of smoke, signifying it was a summoned creature. What just happened to Raikage-sama? The aide asked, unsure. Looked over the boy and the scroll on his back. That scroll is definitely the forbidden scroll of sealing created by the Shodai Hokage, but that would mean he's from Konoha, so why did that dragon bring him here? Dragons rarely leave Cloud Peak, and even then it's only for food. What is so special about you? Raikage-sama? Suddenly 3 Kumonians appeared within the room. It is all right, he reassured them, and then turned to them. Samui, Karui, Amoy, take this boy to the hospital immediately and contact me the moment he wakes up. Also check if there is anything strange about him." "Yes, right Kage-sama," Samui acknowledged even if she didn't understand the reasoning behind the orders. It was going to be a long day. Land of Lightning, Kumagakure no Sato Hospital. Naruto groaned as he awoke to the sight of the sun setting out the closed window and its rays covered the sky in a red hue. He sat up with another groan and looked around, immediately recognizing that he was in a hospital, though it didn't appear to be Konoha's hospital. It was mostly yellow instead of the usual white and was littered with monitoring equipment. "Where the hell am I?" Naruto asked in thought as he shakily got out of the bed. He looked down to see he was wearing a hospital gown. "How did I get here?" He walked over to the window and looked out. Whoa. From where he looked he could see a massive city-like village stretched out over several mountains clustered together. "I'm not in Konoha anymore." Suddenly the door opened and a young woman stepped inside dressed in a familiar yet completely alien nurse's outfit. She stopped, looked at him, and then blinked before rushing back out of the room. "This can't be good, I need to get out of here," Naruto thought and formed a hand seal. Henge, immediately he was wearing clothes again, even though he knew they were an illusion. He formed another hand seal and summoned as much chakra as he could muster, Tadyu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Instantly 20 appeared inside the room and started storming out to provide his distraction. "I have to get out of here now." He jumped out of the window with his clones and fell. "What the hell?" Naruto exclaimed as he fell through the large gap between the village's platforms that kept them all atop the mountains. "I don't have the chakra left to make a ladder out of clones, I'm gonna die." And then suddenly everything went dark. Naruto's mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. Drip. What the hell happened? Naruto shook his head as he looked around his new surroundings. Huh. It looked like a sewer. This feeling Naruto slowly started walking and made his way through the corridor and entered a large chamber with a walk that looked like a large metallic gate on the other side of the room. "Come here, boy," a pair of crimson-slitted eyes snapped open as the blonde grew closer. Suddenly the beast sent out 4 large claws in hopes of ripping him apart through the bars. "You annoying little human, rip this seal off now or I shall feast on your bones." The voice growled out in frustration. "You can't be the Kyuubi no Yoko," Naruto stammered as he took a step back. "Do not waste my time. Do as I command," the giant fox roared in fury. "Everyone sees you as me, a demon. Give up, I will save you from your pain, your loneliness, and your hatred." Suddenly Naruto's jumpsuit opened and the seal on his stomach became visible. "Yes, you're doing fine." The seal distorted a moment later and a black liquid started to pour out onto the floor. "Now come here and rip this seal off," the fox ordered and Naruto staggered towards the seal on the cage. "Raikage-sama!" Amoy shouted as he and the forces arrived on the scene. "I see it," he confirmed as he looked down at the massive demon fox with 8 tails that clung to the mountainside below. So that is what's made the boy special enough to receive the attention of the dragons, he thought with slight worry. "Brother, why do you never come and see me?" The Rockin' Killer Bee asked his brother in a bad rap. "Do you not see the giant demon fox in front of us?" he asked his brother as he gestured towards the monstrous creature. "So that's the Kyuubi to transform like that, he must have an interesting Jinchuriki," Karabi commented in a rap. "Go Hachibi and hold him down while I seal him up," the Raikage ordered and the two jumped down. "Wait," a gruff voice stopped them and they turned swiftly. What they found was a dragon. "We will take care of him." "I didn't even sense them," he realized before fixing. Dragons flew out from seemingly nowhere and descended towards the monstrous fox. "Stay out of the way while we deal with this. It will be over soon," said the lead dragon before they flew down towards the tailed beast below. "Miyaka-kun, you know what to do," another nodded and flew directly above the 8-tailed demon fox. "Fukinjutsu, Raimufkin!" Miyaka roared as she struck down a large spear of white lightning through the fox's midsection. The lightning then lanced out and pinned the beast's tails to the ground, causing it to roar in anger. It was done. "Now we shall see if he remains a fox or ascends into a knight," spoke the dragon leader. "Yes, Hadori-sama," Miyaka bowed her head towards the lead dragon. Naruto's mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. "Almost there," the Kyuubi said with glee as Naruto reached out to grab the seal paper on its cage. Only for someone to grab his wrist. "Huh?" Naruto asked as he snapped back to his senses. He turned to the one who had stopped him and his eyes widened at the sight that greeted him. "You're," he began before the figure picked him up and carried him away from the cage. "You!" Kyuubi roared in anger at the intruder. What are you doing here? Yandame Hokage-sama? Naruto stuttered out in surprise. I infused some of my chakra into the seal to act as a failsafe, just in case the Kyuubi tried to break free and release 8 of its tails. I honestly hoped I never had to see your ugly face again, Kyuubi, but I wanted to see how far my son had grown, so I guess it all evens out in the end. Oh well, Namikaze Minato spoke. Yandame Hokage. Come here. I'll rip you to shreds. Kyuubi roared again. Not the best invitation, so no thanks, Minato said back with a frown. Right, Naruto? He asked the younger blonde. Naruto, my name, Naruto said, confused. How did you know? How? I'm the one who named you, Minato responded amused. You're my son, after all. Your son? Naruto paused, unable to comprehend what was going on. You heard me, you're my son, Naruto, Minato confirmed, as tears started to fall from Naruto's eyes. Dad? The boy asked hesitantly. Yandame? Kyuubi roared in anger at being ignored. That thing is too annoying at times, let's go somewhere quiet, Minato said before he clicked his fingers and the two were transported into a large white void. Naruto wiped away the tears in his eyes as Minato looked on sadly. Sandaime-sama didn't tell you much of anything, did he? I guess he wanted to suppress as much information about the Kyuubi as possible. If people knew you were my son, then you'd have been in danger. A lot of good that did me, Naruto rasped out. I'm sorry, Naruto, but it was the only way I could think of, Minato apologized only to receive a punch from the younger blonde. Why would you ever put the Kyuubi inside your own son? How could you put me through that? I don't know if I'm happy or if I'm mad right now. You're completely insane, Naruto cried out in anger and sadness. Minato sighed after it was clear his son had calmed down. I know, Naruto, how old are you? 12, Naruto answered as he wiped his eyes again. 12 already, huh? Damn, I don't know what to say, Minato admitted with a saddened sigh. Just give me a second, Naruto said and took a deep breath. Alright, I'm Yandame Hokage's kid. I can deal with that, he chuckled in what seemed like relief. Minato just smiled before he spoke again. There is something you should know. There was another reason why I sealed half of Kyuubi's chakra in you. It wasn't just because I thought you could control its power, it was because there was someone manipulating the Kyuubi 12 years ago when it attacked Konoha. Manipulated? Are you saying the Kyuubi was being controlled when it attacked Konoha? Naruto asked in surprise. Minato nodded grimly. I fought him, and I didn't even scratch him. It was like I was fighting a ghost. He's an extremely dangerous shinobi. Who is he? Naruto asked. I don't know, I didn't even see his face, he was wearing a mask, Minato answered. I believe he will attack Konoha again, and I believe he will come after you to get the Kyuubi back. You can't let him get it. Dad, Konoha, Naruto began, but Minato held up his hand to stop him. I already know, I must admit I don't blame you for leaving, Minato interrupted. But I didn't, Naruto started again. To them, the moment you were taken by the dragons, you were considered to no longer be a Konoha citizen, and after what I saw from the seal, I wouldn't blame you for staying away from them, Minato finished. Do you think I should stay here? Naruto asked hesitantly. That is up to you, Naruto. It's your decision, and no one else's. I'm proud of you, no matter what choice you make, Minato said with a smile. Dad, thanks, Naruto smiled back. Now I must be going. I'm almost out of chakra. A word of advice, if you're staying in Kumo, then you won't meet Jiraiya anytime soon, and he is the only one I gave a key to. The forbidden scroll of sealing was used by me to seal the Kyuubi, Minato began, as he brought his hand up to the seal on Naruto's stomach. It twisted and returned to normal a moment later. I just used my key to restore the seal to normal, but this is only a one-time thing. Inside the forbidden scroll of sealing is the third and final key to your seal. It's at the very end of the scroll, and you really can't miss it when you see it. It is the first step to controlling Kyuubi, and I have faith in you to find a way to do it. Forbidden scroll of sealing, I got it, Naruto nodded in understanding. You're not strong enough to fight the Kyuubi, so don't use it unless you are absolutely confident that you can beat it, Minato told him. He put his hand on the younger blonde's head and smiled as he slowly disappeared. Parents always believe in their children, and I believe in you, Naruto. He was gone a moment later. Thanks, Dad, Naruto said and turned as the void shattered around him. Land of Lightning, Kumatakure no Sato, Rainbow Mountain. It looks like he passed our test, Miyaka commented as she saw the fox contract and collapse in on itself. I was worried we might have to kill him for a minute there. That would have been unfortunate, Hattori added with a nod as the red chakra faded to reveal a completely unharmed Naruto. Boy stepped forward, he said. Naruto did, as instructed, and looked over at him. You must be the dragon I summoned before. No, that was me, Miyaka said from the side. I am Miyaka no Ryu. It's a pleasure, she greeted me. Uzumaki Naruto, Kyuubi Jinchuuriki, Naruto said back. Don't take this the wrong way, but what are you all doing here? He asked as he looked over the 5 dragons. You summoned one of my people last night, the dragon leader responded clearly. We dragons haven't been summoned by anyone in over 300 years, and not only were you able to summon us, but you were also able to pass your test to become a Ryu Sennin, dragon sage. A what? Naruto asked, confused. A Ryu Sennin, Miyaka-kun ordered Hattori. Yes, Hattori-sama, Miyaka bowed her head, and her wings glowed. Beams of light shot out and covered Naruto's form from view. Ryupo, Ryu no Yoroi, when the light died down, Naruto was revealed to the world again. What is this? Naruto asked as he looked down. His entire body looked like it was covered in some kind of orange, black, and white armor. In his hand was a glowing red sword with a blue-white ball just below the hilt. Think Naruto's costume from the game, Naruto Shippuden, Raijinki. I may not have liked the game itself, but I loved the costume change, so mix that with the armor of a knight and you have the current Naruto. Think of them as gifts. If you are going to be our summoner, then you will need strength unrivaled by anyone else. We only accept the best as our summoners. You will be the best or you will die. Now let me hear you, Hattori set his gaze on the young blonde. I will become the best, surpassing everyone else, and catch up to my father. That's my promise, Naruto stated clearly. Good. Then we will be off until next time, boy. Hattori bowed his head in respect before he flew off into the sky, followed by the other dragons one by one. Call on me if you need some help, Naruto-kun, Miyaka said before she too flew away. Naruto sighed as he sheathed the sword in the scabbard he had strapped to his back. This has a long day written all over it, he thought, and turned to the sight of several Kumo nins approaching. So your Konoha's Kyuubi Jinchuuriki, the leader spoke, a big guy dressed in what looked like cage robes. I am the Yondaime Raikage of Kumagakure no Sado, he declared. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, Kyuubi Jinchuuriki, and current Ryu Sennin. It's nice to meet you, Naruto said, slightly nervous. He was expecting all the cages to be old guys like the old man, not someone who looked like he could kill you with just a look. I'm not Konoha's Jinchuuriki anymore, Raikage-sama, best not to piss him off if you can. He raised an eyebrow at that, really? Then would you be interested in joining Kumo? Join Kumo? Naruto blinked in confusion. Why? I failed the Genin graduation exam 3 times, and I still haven't passed it. E's eyes narrowed at that. If that were true, then you shouldn't have been able to summon one of those dragons. You clearly summoned the one that dropped you off at my office this morning. How could you not pass the graduation exam 3 times and yet summon a dragon? I can't create clones, Naruto said, embarrassed. Clones? It was Kurabi that spoke up. They wouldn't happen to be normal clones, would they? Because if they were, then get down and shake your belly, cause we Jinchuuriki got too much chakra to make such a useless wannabe. Huh? Naruto blinked with a sweat drop. What my brother means is Jinchuuriki are physically incapable of creating regular clones because they have too much chakra to control. Even our own Jinchuuriki can't create regular clones, so they use A-rank lightning clones instead, he explained. Do you have Jinchuuriki here? Naruto asked in surprise. Kurabi here is the Hachibi Jinchuuriki, he replied as he gestured to his younger brother. I see, then Konoha didn't want to tell me that, or they didn't want to know why I couldn't create regular clones, Naruto muttered as his fists clenched at his side. It seems that way, kid, the Raikage agreed with a nod. Is that offer still open? Naruto asked after a moment. Yes, he nodded in confirmation. Then yes, I will become a genin of Kumo, Naruto agreed and bowed his head. He smiled at his luck. Good, then come with me so we can get you registered and then you will head to our academy to meet your team. Team? Naruto blinked in confusion. Genin team, the Raikage answered with a smirk. Unfortunately, we only have 1 genin out of the regular teams and normally they're kept behind, but since you're here now I finally have a 3rd team member. Land of Lightning, Kumagakure no Sado Academy. This was unreal. Walking towards the academy reminded him so much of home, of Konoha, and yet it was so different too. When he was finished signing all the documents and got his ninja license, he walked towards the academy led by a boy a year older than him called Shai. As they made their way through the village, the villagers went about their business in a similar manner to the villagers back in Konoha, with one very significant difference. They didn't glare at him or even ignore him in the least, quite the contrary actually. They practically adored him. Some people said hello, some smiled, and some even waved a few times. He didn't understand why they were like this when he unleashed 8 of Kyuubi's tails in broad daylight just this morning. What made things even stranger was the fact that, as they walked, he noticed the girls his age and a few years older looking at him the same way that he saw girls look at Sasuke back in Konoha. Strange. As if reading his mind, Shai spoke up, Jinchuuriki are treated differently here compared to other villages. Instead of fearing the demons they contain, we actually consider them to be the ultimate protectors of our village and its people. Kurabi-sama especially, considering how much he's sacrificed to ensure our continued peace. He's a hero among heroes here in Kumo, and to be a Jinchuuriki is considered the highest honor. I see, Naruto said finally, as they kept walking. Here we are, Shai declared, as they reached their destination. The graduation class is on the second floor, room 217. Thanks, Naruto nodded and entered as Shai left. He quickly made it to the room and breathed, here we go. He knocked and entered after being called, hi, I'm here for graduation. Ah, you must be the boy Samui-san talked about, the teacher spoke in understanding. Come in, I'm Darui, and I will be your teacher for the next 10 minutes, he added the last part amused. I think I'll manage, Naruto jokes. Please introduce yourself to the class, Darui gestured towards the assembled group. I am Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet you all, the blonde said with a smile. He's cute, a girl commented. Oh please, he looks like a wimp, a boy scoffed. Nah, didn't you hear? This guy is the Jinchuuriki guy from Rainbow Mountain this morning, another boy countered. Seriously? This guy is a Jinchuuriki? What the hell makes him so special? The first boy demanded. How about the fact that he's not an ass like you, the girl said with a smirk. Alright, settle down everyone, Darui spoke, and silence claimed the room as Naruto sat down at the chair he was motioned to. Right next to the one person in class who had different thoughts about the newcomer. This guy was able to stop himself from losing control and letting the Kyuubi out this morning. To be able to stand up to the most powerful of the Biju, he's not an ordinary Jinchuuriki like I am. He's something else, thought Nai Yugito. Alright class, I will now read out your teams, Darui spoke up again. First is Team Z consisting of. This has a very long day written all over it, Naruto thought with a sigh. Eventually his name was called. Since there are 2 students more than usual, Team B will be a 3-man squad consisting of Uzumaki Naruto and Nai Yugito under Yutsuki Kurabi, Darui finished, causing the 2 to look up in confusion. 3 Jinchuuriki on the same team? This wouldn't end well at all. Apparently they weren't the only ones who thought so. Darui-sensei. Why do they get special treatment? One of the students demanded. Darui looked annoyed and spoke before Naruto lost his temper. Are you blind? There is no one else available to fit the slot for a third teammate, and it's not unusual for 2 academy graduates to have their own team. When I first became a genin I was in a 3-man cell myself, and trust me, it's a lot harder without a 4th teammate watching your back. The class fell silent at that. Very long day was the only thought that passed through Naruto's head. Would you stop that already? Yugito shouted in annoyance. They had been waiting for 20 minutes since all of the other teams had been taken away by their respective sensei, leaving only them in the room. After 5 minutes of boredom, Naruto started to tap his pencil on the table, much to Yugito's frustration, which he had continued to do until she had yelled at him to stop. Silence. Thank you, Yugito muttered in relief. That's it, Yugito shouted and tackled him to the ground. Hey! What are you doing, you crazy cat girl? Naruto shouted back as the 2 rolled across the floor. They came to a stop in front of the teacher's desk with Yugito pinning Naruto down by his arms. What is your problem? You're my problem? Yugito yelled, annoyed. You come out of nowhere, graduate, as a genin, and then you have the audacity to annoy me with your infernal tapping and ask me what's my problem? You are a complete and total moron. That's my problem, you idiot. Sorry? Naruto hesitantly asked. Yugito got off him and huffed before turning away. Hey now. I just needed something to do. It's been a messed up couple of days, and I'm still sorting through everything. Sorry if I offended you or anything, he laughed nervously. Why? Yugito asked before turning around to face him. Why are you here? This was supposed to be so simple. I was supposed to graduate and be taken as Karabi-sama's only apprentice and become strong enough to protect my home. Then you walk in and accomplish the same thing I've been doing for the last 4 years in only a day. How the hell do you think that makes me feel, huh?" Naruto remained silent at that. Oh boy, they snapped their eyes to the door and saw a dark-skinned man who looked about 30 standing in the doorway. "This is gonna take some work, fools you fools," the man said in a bad song. "Who are you?" Naruto blinked. "I'm the man who floats like a butterfly and stings like a killer bee, cause I'm the eight-tailed beast," the man declared. "Karabi-sama," Yugito bowed her head in respect. "We were just," she began. "No need to tell cause I heard it all like a ringing bell," Karabi rapped. "You're our sensei?" Naruto asked, feeling slightly disappointed. "Somehow I was expecting a ninja, not someone who sings bad rap," he sighed. "Both of you come with me, yo, and we'll see where you stand on my test, yo," Karabi spoke as he ushered the pair out of the room. "Hey, no pulling," Naruto yelled as the man practically dragged the two out of the academy and towards one of the training grounds on the lower platforms of the village. Lightning Country, Kumo Training Platform D. "Let's start with you both introducing yourselves, fools, you fools," Karabi said as the two genin sat down against a metal bench. Yugito spoke first. "Nai Yugito. I like my home and I dislike anyone who threatens it, as well as someone I know." She glared at Naruto, who scoffed slightly as she continued. "I don't have many hobbies and my dream is to become Kumo's greatest protector." After it was clear she was done, Naruto spoke up. "The name's Uzumaki Naruto. I don't really like anything and I dislike how corrupt Konoha has become. My hobbies, pulling pranks and watering plants, and my dream I don't really have one." "Alright, I'm Yatsuki Karabi. You will refer to me as Hachibi-sama, Hachibi-sensei or Karabi-sensei from now on." "Fools, you fools," Karabi said. "I like Enka and my vacation time. I dislike anyone who has a problem with my rap and my brother's meddling. My hobbies are my singing and making new raps. My goal is to merge Enka's singing with my own rap style, fools, you fools." "Man, and I thought I had problems," Naruto thought with a sweat drop. "Now then I will test you both here and see how you both fare." "Fools, you fools," Karabi said and stood up. "We're gonna spar to see if you're up to par," he added with a nod. Yugito shot up and threw out a punch only for Karabi to evade and strike her in the chest. She exploded into lightning and paralyzed the Kumo champion, but he shrugged it off in moments as the real hero appeared behind him. "Raikyu," Yugito called out as she hurled a ball of lightning at the Kumo jounin. "Not a bad little cat," Karabi started before he disappeared in a burst of speed and reappeared behind her. "But you're still as slow as a clumsily flung bat," he kicked her away, causing her to skid along the metal floor until she stopped. "Damn it, Karabi-sensei really is strong," Yugito thought grimly. "Rai Bunshin no Jutsu was practically useless against him," she added in thought. "Tajuu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," Naruto called out, and to their surprise 100 Naruto clones appeared around them and charged. "This kid's got potential if he can create this many shadow clones with only academy-level chakra control. If he's ever able to fully control it, he will be almost unstoppable," Karabi thought with a smirk as he struck down the assembled clone army with his bare hands. "Raikyu," Yugito exclaimed as she threw another ball of lightning at him, hoping to catch him off guard while he was distracted. Karabi saw it coming and quickly jumped away. He landed a few feet away and saw the two genin ready themselves for the next attack. "We can't even touch him." "Hey sensei?" Naruto shouted with a smirk. Suddenly another Naruto appeared behind the Hachibi Jinchuuriki and grabbed his shoulders, surprising him. "Maybe you should watch your back more," the clone said. "Take him out now with my clone," he shouted to his teammate who was already preparing her next attack. "When did he?" Karabi blinked, surprised, as he tried to break himself free of the boy's grasp. "Raikyu," Yugito threw a ball of lightning at their sensei and the clone held him down. It struck. And smoke filled the air. "You pass," Karabi said as he appeared behind the two completely unharmed. "Thank you, Karabi-sensei," Yugito said as she bowed her head in respect. "This guy is a true Jinchuuriki," Naruto thought with a smile. "This might not be so bad after all." "Land of Lightning, Kumagakure no Sato Raikage Tower. Please, I'm begging you. Don't make me do another one of these chores," Naruto practically shouted before they were offered yet another D-rank mission. He looked both amused and annoyed at the same time. "And why would I give you a higher ranking mission? Warak no Jutsu." There was an explosion of smoke before a naked blonde girl with clouds covering her appeared in the room to the surprise of everyone, besides Karabi. He never stood a chance. He fell out of his chair with blood pouring out of his nose and a grin on his face. Karabi didn't seem to be affected, and, as for Yugito, well, she didn't look happy at all. A split second later, Yugito smacked the blonde girl over the head and she transformed back into Naruto. "What the hell was that, you idiot?" Yugito angrily snarled at her fellow blonde as she held him by the collar. This went on for another few minutes before the Raikage regained consciousness and spoke in a serious tone. "Very well, you will get your mission, however it is not an ordinary mission." The tone he used immediately stopped the two. "What is it?" Naruto blinked. "There was recently a request forwarded to Konoha by a bridge builder from the land of Wave. It has been listed as a C-rank mission, however I don't believe that. Our spies have identified that the shipping tycoon, Gato, is in the area and is working towards enslaving the entire country. The Konoha team being sent has the last Uchiha on it and Konoha won't risk him when they finally find out about the information their client has been withholding from them. Your orders are to succeed where Konoha fails," the Raikage explained. "Leave it to us, brother. We'll have it done at time for supper." "Fools, you fools," Karabi said with a shrug. "Go," he gave the order. Land of Fire, Eastern Border. Uchiha Sasuke, the last of his clan, had been having a rather painful day of listening to his number one fangirl constantly asking him out on dates. Haruno Sakura had been pathetic during their real genin test, and even their new teammate, Sai, seemed to have more skills than her. Sai was a quiet boy who, well, I don't really know how to describe the kind of guy he is. "We are entering foreign territory. You should be quiet or ugly-san." "Yeah, something like that." "What did you just call me?" "I'm going to kill you." Sakura shouted in anger and lunged to attack the newcomer, only to be stopped by their sensei. Haddock Kakashi held her back by her collar while he continued to read his little orange book, now called Sakura. "What have I told you about teamwork?" Sakura huffed and continued walking. "Why did we have to have him on the team? He's almost as bad as Naruto Baka on his worst days." "So can we expect any ninja on this mission?" Sasuke asked seemingly uncaringly. "It's only a C-rank mission, and the Land of Waves doesn't have a shinobi village. You don't have to worry about foreign ninja for a while yet," Kakashi responded with a shrug. Just then a pair of figures appeared out of the puddle they had walked past and wrapped Kakashi in chains. "What? What the?" Sakura nearly screamed as the group turned around. "One down," one of the assassins whispered as they pulled on the chains. "And cut Kakashi down in a matter of seconds." "Kakashi-sensei." Sakura screamed in fear at seeing their teacher killed with ease. "Two down," the assassins whispered as they appeared behind Sai. Fortunately, he was ready for them and quickly turned, drawing his tanto and blocking the chain at its center. They quickly tried to counter, but Sasuke then moved and pinned the chain to the nearby tree, forcing the two assassins to break apart. One went after Sai, while the other moved to attack Sakura and the client. A split second later, Kakashi appeared unharmed and decimated the two assassins. "Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura stuttered in surprise at seeing a seemingly dead man alive again. "Very good, Sasuke, Sai, Sakura," Kakashi nodded in praise and turned to their client. "Tazuna, our attackers are Chunin-level Nukenin from Kiri. Do you mind explaining why they came after you and not us?" Tazuna stammered out a response. "I mean. You lied about the mission level," Kakashi said simply. "This is easily a B rank mission and could increase to an A rank if things become any more complicated. Kakashi-sensei, we're not strong enough yet for this type of mission. Can we quit?" Sakura asked, both hesitant and hopeful. "This is getting complicated," Kakashi sighed in frustration. He turned to the team. "What do you all want to do?" "This team is not yet ready to complete a mission of this caliber. We must return to Konoha," Sai spoke up. Sasuke didn't say anything, but his glare said it all. "Both Hokage-sama and Danzo-sama will be very upset should we be killed because we were lied to." Kakashi looked at the crestfallen Tazuna before agreeing. "Very well, we are returning home now." "I understand," Tazuna sighed in defeat. "Then I will be continuing on home. If I am to die, then I won't run away from it." "For what it's worth, I am sorry, Tazuna-san," Kakashi apologized. "Don't be. You've done enough just by getting me this far. I can go the rest of the way." Tazuna bowed his head. Team 7 moved out, Kakashi ordered, and the Konoha ninja jumped into the trees, heading for home. "Damn, oh what the hell. It was a bad idea to start with, but I had to try. Tsunami Inari, I'm on my way home," Tazuna sighed again before he continued his walk. Yo, are you Tazuna? It looks like those Konoha wimps left you, fools, you fools, a voice spoke up, surprising him. What? Tazuna stammered in surprise as he turned to the side of three new ninja. Who are you? He asked, slightly fearful. We're your new guards from Kumo. We'll be guarding you from here on out, yo, the obvious leader answered in a bad rap. You aren't working for Gato? Tazuna asked. No, we're not, the young girl replied. Thank the gods, Tazuna sighed in relief. Well, I don't have the money for this kind of mission, but. Just repay us later, old man, the orange-black clad boy at his side spoke. What do I call you? I never got your names, Tazuna said nervously. I am the man who floats like a butterfly and stings like a killer bee. 'Cause I'm the eight-tailed beast, the leader practically sang. He's Karabi-sensei, the girl said with a sigh. I'm Nai Yugito, and this idiot here is Uzumaki Naruto. Don't call me an idiot, Naruto growled back. I hope these three will be enough, Tazuna thought worried. It took them 2 days to reach the island while sneaking past the patrols and mercenaries that guarded it from unwanted inference. Team B hadn't been so bad, or at least the bridge builder thought so. They were mostly quiet on the journey with Karabi constantly writing in his pad, probably making up new raps, while the two genin seemed to be trying to ignore each other. They had gotten off the boat and were walking through the forest when Yugito suddenly stopped and flung a kunai into the nearby bush. What? Tazuna tensed as Karabi pushed them both down. Yugito dropped to the ground also, but Naruto turned quickly, unsheathing the Raijin and bringing it up to deflect the oncoming attack. A massive sword, a Zanbato came flying out of the trees and slammed into the Raijin, forcing Naruto back several feet, but it ultimately clattered to the ground. Impressive boy. To withstand the force behind a thrown sword of that size like that is impressive for a genin. I see you train your students well, Hachibi, the attacker said as he appeared beside his fallen sword. He shouldered the massive weapon and glared, not that it matters. Hand over the bridge builder now, he demanded. Who the hell is this guy? Naruto asked as he held the Raijin at his side. Mamachi Zabuza, one of the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist. He's nicknamed the Demon of the Mist in the bingo book. It's said that he once tried to assassinate the Yonde Mizukage, Yugito explained. It's good that I know whose ass I'm about to kick, Naruto said as he planted his sword in the ground beside him and brought his hands together in a seal. Jinchuriki no Jutsu, an instant later red chakra exploded from his body. That's when the hell will he learn how to harness Kyuubi's chakra? Yugito thought in surprise. I really need to thank sensei for teaching me this jutsu, Naruto thought as he grasped the Raijin again. My power comes with a price. Remember that, he heard a sinister voice say from the back of his mind. Consider it rent for housing you for so damn long, Naruto shot back as he twirled the Raijin in his hands like it was second nature. This chakra is inhuman, Zabuza narrowed his eyes as the boy disappeared in a burst of speed. There's no question, the Nukanin thought, and turned swiftly, digging Kubikiri HMCHM into the ground just as Naruto appeared behind him and swung Raijin around, hitting the Kubikiri HMCHM with a resounding clang of metal striking metal. He is definitely a Jinchuriki if that jutsu and chakra of his is anything to go by. Still, compared to Yugura team, he's nothing more than a child, Zabuza thought before he spun quickly and cleaved the blonde boy in half. Naruto, Yugito shouted as saw her teammate bisecting. Why aren't you helping them? Tazuna asked Jonin at his side, who was currently writing in his notebook. Because I want to see how they fare in a real fight. It should be an interesting sight, Karabi answered in a rap. There was no blood. Just a poof of smoke. The shadow clone? Zabuza thought in alarm as an orange blur appeared behind him. He turned quickly only to receive a solid punch across the face, knocking him away. How do you like that? Naruto's voice echoed through the clearing. A second later, Zabuza suddenly dissolved into water. What? Not a bad kid, but you just aren't there yet, the real Zabuza said as he appeared behind the blonde boy. Now die, the Nukanin shouted as he brought down Kubikiri HMCHM on the boy. There was an echoing clang as Yugito appeared before them, 2 kunai in hand, her body covered in blue-purple chakra, and clashed with the far larger Kubikiri HMCHM. Heh, so he has 2 Jinchuriki students, how fitting. Zabuza laughed as he forced his sword further down, trying to knock the girl off balance. Naruto then came in from the side and slashed with the Raijin, forcing Zabuza to back off. Yugito then jumped over the boy and threw a ball of lightning at the Nukanin. Raikyu. Yugito called out as she hurled the jutsu at him. It struck its target, and Zabuza dissolved into water. Damn it, he made a water clone. The real Zabuza suddenly appeared behind the two and swung Kubikiri HMCHM round. I've got you now, kiddies. There was a resounding clang as Kubikiri HMCHM hit a katana held by Kurabi. I thought you were sitting out, he taunted. You two take a break and consider what's at stake, Kurabi said to his two students. So you're finally getting off your ass and doing something, eh? Alright, I'll take you on, Zabuza said and spun quickly, bringing his sword around to slash the dark-skinned Jonin. Kurabi withdrew another sword and parried the strike with ease. He then flexed his arms slightly and another 5 swords shot into the air which he caught with different parts of his body. What the dot? Kurabi stood there for a moment and spoke with the hilt of a sword in his mouth. I'll give you a taste of my hook. What's up with that stance? Zabuza thought with narrowed eyes as Kurabi suddenly shot forward. Shit, he grunted as he pulled back just as Kurabi struck down on the position he was just at. Faster than most could see, Kurabi was already upon him again, forcing him to bring Kubikiri HMCHM up to defend himself. Yo, first I'm gonna float and fly like a butterfly, Kurabi began as he charged lightning chakra through his swords, knocking Kubikiri HMCHM to the side and leaving an opening in Zabuza's defenses. What's up with his kenjutsu? I can barely read it at all, Zabuza thought with widened eyes. Then I sting you like a killer bee. 'Cause I'm the 8-tailed beast. Kurabi declared as he impaled Zabuza with 5 of his swords. Awesome, Naruto thought as he watched on. Zabuza hit the ground with a thud as the Hachibi Jinchuriki moved in to finish him off, and I ended my flow with a finishing blow. A white blur came in from the side and grabbed Zabuza, rolling them out of the way just as Kurabi struck down. What the? Where the hell did he come from? Naruto shouted as he pointed to the newcomer who was wearing a mask. I didn't even sense him, Yugito muttered worriedly. You aren't a hunter nin, Kurabi said simply and charged forward. You would have killed this guy already instead of saving him, you little fly. He shouted as he closed in. We must escape now, the mask-wearing newcomer thought quickly and formed a hand seal. The newcomer and Zabuza disappeared in a puff of smoke a second later. Shunshin no jutsu. What was that about? Naruto asked, confused. The guy who saved Zabuza was dressed as a Kiri hunter nin, but if that was true then he would have not only killed Zabuza himself but also completely destroyed the body. That hunter nin was clearly one of Zabuza's allies, Yugito explained. So it's not over yet, Naruto said as he sheathed the Ryujin. That's not a pleasant thought, Tazuna said with a sigh. Come on. My house is not too far from here. We can rest once we're there this way. The 4 disappeared into the mist again a moment later. Land of Wave, Nami house. Are you alright, father? The 28-year-old woman asked Tazuna. The bridge builder nodded with a sigh as he dropped onto the futon. You look like you've been through hell. Stupid old drunk, he didn't even do anything, Naruto muttered before Yugito elbowed him. I'm fine, Tsunami, but it's been a long day, so I need to sleep, Tazuna said as he stared up at the ceiling. Zabuza will probably take a week to recover. Until then? Yugito asked. We're gonna train you, and then we're gonna make them wet their pants like little ants, Kurabi replied in song. And how do we do that? Yugito inquired. Kuchiyus no jutsu, Naruto said as he slapped his hand down on the ground and seals spread out across it. A large scroll instantly appeared in front of him and he hefted it up onto his shoulders. What is that? Yugito asked surprised. This is the forbidden scroll of sealing which I brought with me when I left Konoha and came to Kumo. The Raikage can't open it because of something the dragons did to it and they've been holding onto it for me. Only I can open it because it's keyed to my blood, so no one else can get their hands on its secrets, Naruto explained as he set the scroll down. So what's in it? Yugito asked intrigued. Every jutsu Konoha has ever acquired, including my father's, Naruto replied. You don't have the chakra control yet for those, fool, you fool, Kurabi spoke up. Yeah, I know, Naruto nodded in understanding. You need to bring up your control, so I want you to start walking on water while swirling kunai in your hand. This will allow you to at the very least stand, Kurabi said to his 2 students. Yes, Kurabi-sensei, the 2 genin nodded at the order. Just then a young boy entered the room. And Naruto could tell it was going to be a long week. Land of Wave, Nami house. So what's the plan? Yugito asked as they all sat down at the kitchen table. We find out where they're hiding and bring them pain. That way we will become their bane, Kurabi rapped. So we find this Gato guy and then hit him where it hurts, right? Naruto asked, having gotten used to their sensei's habits. Right, oh no, Kurabi sang with a nod. How do we find him? I'm a sensory type, and I can't sense Zabuza or that hunter nin anywhere on the island. Where do we start looking? Yugito asked. Naruto, you should make some clones and have them scout the other islands. When you find something, Yugito should be able to locate Zabuza. Fools you fools, Kurabi explained. I'll do that, Naruto nodded. Why? No matter how hard you train, you'll never match Gato's thugs, yelled Tazuna's grandson, Inari. You all act cool and talk tough, but big strong guys like that are always too much for people weaker than they are. They'll destroy you. Shut up, I'm not you, and I'm not going to lose to anyone. Least of all a bunch of bullies, Naruto said with a snort. Just watching you ticks me off. You go running your mouth when you don't know a thing. This isn't your town, and you don't know a thing about me. You're always clowning around and having fun. You don't know a thing about suffering or loneliness or what my life is like. Inari shouted. Actually, I know more than you think, Naruto said after a moment. I've heard that your father was considered a hero, someone who put his life on the line to do the right thing, and your entire country betrayed him by not helping him. You think you're the only one who has suffered? Don't be stupid, he leveled a glare at the boy. Since the day I was born I have been lied to by those around me, and people have even tried to kill me simply because I exist. My father was a hero too, and despite that they discarded his dying wish and even went as far as to not even tell me he was my father. Naruto Yugito thought in surprise and a bit of sadness as Kurabi looked on silently. I had to be brought to the edge of insanity just to find out who my father was, and you sit there in front of me and whine about Gato's invincible mercenaries? Don't insult me, Naruto snarled as he flashed red for a moment. I have stood in front of a demon that could level a nation by itself and chose to become a sage instead of a monster. Even now it tries to corrupt me, but I won't let it, and I'll keep fighting long after Gato is dead. He stood up a moment later and headed for the door. I'm out of here. Wait, Naruto Yugito stood up in protest, but Kurabi grabbed her arm. Let him go, he needs time, so take it slow, the Hachibi Jinchuriki told her. Was what he said true? Tsunami asked worriedly. He hasn't had a very good life even by Jinchuriki standards, Kurabi explained. He has only started to live his life away from those bastards, he finished referring to Konoha. At least Kumo trained me, but unlike Kumo, Konoha didn't want anything to do with Kyuubi, he added after a moment. I didn't know, Yugito stammered out and lowered her gaze to the floor. I had no idea that he thought he was treated like we are. Naruto grew up facing the darker side of humanity. Even I am amazed he has maintained his sanity, Kurabi said with a sigh. He wasn't beaten or anything like that, but they wouldn't have lifted a finger if he were to go splat. And I said those things to him back in Kumo. I'm such a fool, Yugito thought sadly. Deep in the woods of one of the neighboring islands was a large fortress built into several trees that towered above the earth. This fortress was the home of Gato's operations in the Land of Wave and was the current location of the still recovering Mamachi Zabuza. It had been nearly a week since his defeat at the hands of Team B, and he was almost fully recovered. Keyword, almost. Talk about paranoid. There's enough guards here to hold off a full-scale invasion, Yugito whispered as the three overlooked the massive base. How do we get in? She asked as she stared at the massive mercenaries below. How about right through the front door? Naruto quipped. Being serious for once, Yugito shot back. I'm being serious. I say we go down there and kick their collective ass. Isn't that what we're here for? Naruto responded. Yes, but we need a plan. Preferably something that doesn't nail us to someone's fan, Kurabi responded simply. How about I blow up the entire fortress? There's this new jutsu I want to try anyway, Naruto said as he rubbed his hands together in glee. What do you have in mind? Yugito asked almost fearfully. She'd never seen that look on him before, and she gulped when he formed a familiar seal. Just watch. Tadyu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He pushed as much chakra into it as he could, and the guards looked up just in time to see a massive army of 1,000 shadow clones pop into existence. How did he? There is no way he should have that much chakra even with the Kyuubi, Yugito thought with wide eyes as the clones charged towards the entrances to the fortress. He can make an army with a hand seal. That's not a bad deal, Kurabi thought intrigued. Stupid Kyuubi, always showing off, he heard the Hachibi grunt in the back of his mind. Charge. The clones flooded inside the complex and a few moments later explosions riddled the outer walls. Bunshin Daibakuha. The clones shouted as they exploded all over the place. And that is how it is done, Naruto said with a smug look on his face. He took a mock bow and said, "Thank you. Please hold the applause." He waved to the flames that now engulfed the fortress. "And people say my pranks are useless," he said mockingly. "When did you learn that?" Yugito asked him. "How to make exploding clones. A few days ago from the scroll, but I couldn't really get it down right, it takes too much chakra," Naruto sighed. "Was that your first kill?" Kurabi asked, for once not looking to make light of the situation. "No," Naruto answered simply. "By summoning Miyaka-chan to kill Mizuki was my first kill, even if I was knocked out at the time. I will never feel sorry for the deaths of these people, if that's what they can be called, after what they've done to this country. He's still in the infant stages of his development, even if his power is growing faster than I imagined," Kurabi thought in acceptance. A blur suddenly appeared behind him, and he turned swiftly, drawing one of his swords and parrying the strike from a large Zanbato. "You really think you can get the drop on me? The Rockin' Killer Bee?" he shouted to his assailant. "Don't make me laugh." Zabuza shouted back as he pushed down on his sword. "Haku. Deal with the brats," he ordered, and a blue blur appeared from the side. It was the fake hunter Nin. "Down," Yugito shouted as she pushed both herself and Naruto down, avoiding a volley of Senbon needles. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto crossed his fingers and created a pair of clones as they fell through the trees towards the ground below. The two clones grabbed them and hurled the two Jinchuriki up onto a nearby branch. "Where the hell did he come from? I couldn't even sense him," Yugito responded as Haku jumped towards them and sent a volley of Senbon at the pair. "Incoming," the Kumo Kunoichi warned, and the two Jinchuriki jumped out of the way. "Sensatsu Sushim," the masked Nin called out as she sent a massive spray of Senbon at the pair. "Damn it," Yugito grunted as the Senbon closed in. Naruto came in from the side and tackled her to the ground to avoid the barrage. "What are you doing, you fool? What does it look like?" "I'm saving your life," Naruto shot back as his legs hit the floor, sliding for several feet before finally stopping with Yugito in his arms. His eyes never left the fake hunter Nin as she dropped down to ground level also. "Hyoten, Hyomu," Haku said as she formed a one-handed seal. Ice exploded from the ground below the two and impaled Naruto through the stomach. "I have never killed before, but Zabuza-sama tells me that I cannot afford to hold back against you two, so I will have to fight to kill." "Naruto," Yugito said in shock at seeing the blonde boy impaled. "Not bad, but Haku was it? You made one very crucial mistake which everyone has made at one point or another," Naruto rasped out before he exploded in smoke. "That was a shadow clone? But that means he sent a clone to save the girl from my last attack while the real him got into position," Haku thought as an orange blur appeared behind her. "You underestimated me," the blonde boy finished as he attacked. Naruto swung the Raijin in one swift motion, intent on cleaving the masked Nin's head right off, but just before he struck his target a figure parried the blow. This action caught everyone by surprise, even Kurabi and Zabuza stopped suddenly to look at the newcomer. Naruto backed off a moment later and looked up at the newcomer's face. It was his own. The Dark One. "Head strange, huh? How your teammates get an easier life," the figure sneered as his head rose to reveal 6 distinguishable marks on his cheeks. "Naruto, did you create another clone?" Yugito asked nervously upon seeing a copy of her teammate. "No," Naruto answered simply as he readied the Raijin. "What a bunch of pests," the copy snorted and leveled a glare at Naruto. "Call me Yami." He was dressed in an outfit similar to Naruto, but instead of orange, black, and white, Yami's was mostly black and with tinges of red here and there. "He looks just like me," Naruto whispered as Yami drew an identical copy of the Raijin from his scabbard and dropped it to his side. An irreplaceable spot in the hero's history. "That's he shouldn't be able to take a physical form," Kurabi muttered with narrowed eyes. "Konoha treats us like a pariah and Kumo treats us like a godsend, but we both know we're just tools to them all. Surely you understand, Naruto," Yami spoke up. "Who are you?" Naruto questioned. "Can't you tell? I'm you. I'm the darkness inside your heart," Yami explained. "What the hell are you talking about? I have no idea who you are. Don't give me that crap," Naruto shouted as he shot forward, twirling the Raijin in his hand for a few seconds and before he swung horizontally at the copy. "Foolish," Yami quickly parried the blow in one swift motion, identical to Naruto's own strike, causing them to clash. "You have no idea how that sword of yours works, do you? It is one of two swords crafted long ago to wield the ultimate power of the ancient rulers of this world. By accepting the Raijin, you've allowed me to form from the darkness and hatred in your heart to bond with the sword in my hands now. The Onijin is the dark counterpart to the Raijin, and I will use it to slay you, Naruto. What do you want from me? Naruto shouted as he pushed forward, striking at the copy only for Yami to parry each blow. What do I want? You don't get it. I want what both of us have always wanted. Yami shouted back as they broke apart. I want power, I want to be the best there is, and I want people to acknowledge my existence. That's what I want. That's what we want. Damn, things are really getting bad, Kurabi thought as he backed away from Zabuza. He hadn't been fighting all out because he wanted to see how far his students had come, but things were getting complicated now. I'd better end this quickly and help the brat. He sheathed the 7 swords in a matter of seconds, surprising Kiri Nukanen. You're giving up? Zabuza asked, almost annoyed. Got no choice but to cut loose, otherwise my team will be nothing more than a stuffed goose, Kurabi replied and held his right hand up in their air with a hand seal. Here comes the 8th, he let out a bull-like whine as red chakra exploded from his body and took the shape of a human-sized ox with 3 chakra tails. Oh, this can't be good, Zabuza thought worriedly. I've had enough of this little game, Yami declared as he backed off. With the Onijin still in hand, he formed a familiar hand seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Instantly 10 clones popped into existence around him and charged forward, time to die. He can create shadow clones too? Yugito said in surprise as the clones charged. Rai Bunshin no Jutsu sent a dozen lightning clones to intercept them. The real Yami appeared behind Haku in a burst of speed and struck with all his strength. Thankfully, Haku managed to evade the strike, mostly since it nicked her shoulder as she jumped away. A split second later, Naruto appeared in front of the copy and lunged with the Raijin. Yami executed a quick replacement with one of his remaining clones and skidded to a halt a few feet away. He's faster than me, Naruto commented in frustration. Yami remained silent for a moment and then they heard it. It started as a low chuckle but eventually became full-blown laughter as Yami's eyes glowed crimson. Yugito suppressed a shiver as she looked on at the twisted copy of her teammate and couldn't help but feel horrified at being in its mere presence. You really are a fool. You have no idea how these swords work at all, do you? Yami asked mockingly before he licked Haku's blood off the Onijin. Allow me to show you one of the Onijin's abilities, the ability to copy bloodlines. Haku's eyes widened at his words as ancient runes started appearing on his body. Chimera no Jutsu, he whispered before forming a one-handed seal. Makamheimshm. Suddenly dozens of ice mirrors appeared around the 3 combatants. This is my bloodline jutsu, Haku said in shock. Does it have a weakness? Yugito questioned as the 3 stood back to back. None that I know of. No one has ever survived when I use it. At least no one inside has been able to defeat me, Haku replied. What about outside? Yugito continued. The mirrors are vulnerable from the outside, yes, Haku answered with a nod. Naruto quickly formed a hand seal a second later and red chakra exploded from his body. Alright then, Jinchuriki no Jutsu. This should even the odds a little. Damn, Yami grunted as Naruto sent out the largest shockwave he could create and shattered the ice long enough for the 3 to escape. The ice dissolved moments later. I still need to train in controlling whatever bloodlines I acquire. Give up, Yami, you can't win, Naruto said clearly. Yami laughed again. You really think that, don't you? Please don't insult me, Naruto. After all, you should know better than anyone not to underestimate yourself. Now what is he doing? Naruto thought as he jumped back to regroup with Yugito and Haku. Does this happen to you often? Haku asked the 2 blondes. Don't really know, it's our first real mission, Yugito answered nervously. I pray that it isn't your last then, Haku said after a moment. Dark Knight of the Fallen Kingdom, I humbly ask that you grant me power. The power of the Forgotten, the power of destruction, and the power of reincarnation. I call upon you, Crusader. Ascendo. Yami exclaimed as he slammed the Onijin into the ground in front of him. Purple light exploded from the sword, forcing everyone watching to cover their eyes. When it died down, everyone could see again, and they could see it all. What is that? Yugito asked as she gazed up. There, towering over them was a massive black armored giant with raven-like wings and an equally massive black sword, the Onijin, in his hand. Runes and symbols covered the armor, and its helmet was shaped like a bird. It stood at roughly 20 feet tall. Its eyes glowed red as it cast its gaze down at the three before it flapped its wings, knocking over several trees in the process and sent them flying back through the forest. What is going on over there? Kurabi thought as he felt the massive spike of chakra coming from where his students were fighting. It looks like things are heating up, catch me if you can, Zabuza said before dissolved into water. He must be going after the others, Kurabi quickly deduced and took off into the trees. That thing almost killed us, Haku gritted out as she stood shakily. If it weren't for Zabuza-sama's training I wouldn't have survived that blast. What is that thing? The armored giant spoke with Yami's twisted voice. I am a knight of the ancients, and this is my true form. The form of crusader and the one who will kill you all right here and now. He's too strong, these chakra levels they're inhuman, Yugito rasped, out of breath. You have no idea how that sword of yours works, do you? It is one of two swords crafted long ago to wield the ultimate power of the ancient rulers of this world. What did he mean by that? Naruto asked as he clutched the Raijin at his side. Suddenly it started to glow red, what the dot? You want power, don't you boy? What? Who said that? Naruto thought in surprise. If you want the power to protect those with you then repeat after me and give me the strength to come forth. Naruto's eyes started to glow gold as the Raijin glowed a terrifying crimson. Wait, no. Yami shouted, but it was already too late. Holy Knight Champion of the Ancients, I ask you to grant me power. The power to protect, the power to defend, and the power to safeguard the innocent. I call upon you Duke. Ascendo, light exploded from the dragon blade and blinded everyone in the area. When it died down Yami took a step back, it can't be dot. Two thuds echoed through the forest as a large armored knight with similar size to Yami secured its footing and stood tall. A long red sword, the Raijin, in its right hand and a massive blue shield in the other. It was plated white with patterns of gold covering its form and a long blue cape flowing in the wind behind it. Whoa, this feels incredible, came a familiar voice from the knight. Naruto? Yugito asked in shock as the white knight's eyes flashed gold for an instant. Yami, I'm taking you down, Naruto declared as he leveled his sword at the black knight. Yugito, Haku-san, move to a safe distance while I deal with this, he said before he charged forward. This isn't going like I had planned, Yami thought in anger as he parried the first blow. Naruto lunged and Yami narrowly evaded the attack, he's getting faster. Raiten, Dorigen Rajingu, Naruto shouted as he turned into a blur. His speed just doubled, tripled even, Yami thought in frustration and a little bit of worry. He jumped high and flapped his wings to keep himself airborne. As long as I remain in the air he can't get me, he thought before he dived towards the white knight. Here he comes, Naruto thought as Yami closed in. The moment Yami was in range, the black knight stabbed his sword towards Naruto only for him to disappear and his cape to flutter away. What? Yami blinked in confusion and quickly looked around but saw no movement. Where did he go? He thought with narrowed eyes. His eyes suddenly widened when he heard an echoing screech like that of chalk streaking across a blackboard and looked up quickly. Above me. There, descending on him was his opponent. Raiten, Finarigagimento, Naruto shouted as gathered chakra into the Raijin and struck down, creating a massive explosion and blowing away a good section of the forest around them. Holy Mother of Yugito shouted as she and Haku clutched the shaking ground. Stay down, she shouted to Haku as the ground cracked around them and shattered into chunks of debris. When the blast died down Haku couldn't help but ask, what was that? I think that was Naruto, Yugito rasped out as she looked over at the masked nin. Well, formerly anyway, since her mask was now destroyed, are you alright? I've been better, Haku admitted as she leaned back against a chunk of debris. Hey look, she pointed towards the vanishing dust cloud and saw both knights standing apart, facing each other. Heh, Yami chuckled darkly as he rose to his feet once more. Don't think you've won just yet, I'm not finished Naruto yet, he shouted as he channeled chakra into the Onijin. What's he planning? Naruto thought as Yami took the Onijin in both hands and struck down on the earth. Raiten, Sudoraku right Ningu. Yami exclaimed as a large blast of lightning discharged from the tip of the Onijin. Naruto had already brought up his shield to defend against the attack and was pushed back several feet by its force. This guy, Naruto thought as he reinforced his footing to better hold back his opponent's attack. Kaiten, Senpu Hisenka. Yami called out as his wings extended and a massive blast of flames erupted from them. The flame spun in the shape of a tornado with a phoenix at its head before extending around the sides of Naruto and then coming inwards to strike at White Knight's unprotected back. Damn it, he's backing me into a corner, Naruto realized as he jumped high, very high to avoid the two attacks being thrown at him. Naruto. Those jutsu he's using are meant to be used in combination. Don't let them hit you, Yugito shouted from the sidelines. I know, Naruto shouted back as Yami flew up towards him. Too slow. Yami laughed and thrust out his sword. Shut up, Naruto shouted back as he brought his sword down to counter. Raiten, Sudareku right Ningu. Raiten, Fanarigagimento. The world around them shook as the two airborne knights clashed with thunderous force, pun intended. They fell a moment later and continued to attack one another even as they closed in on the ground. They hit the ground a few seconds later and dust exploded into the air from the impact. When it cleared, both knights clashed one last time before they pushed themselves away from each other. Naruto? Yugito asked worriedly. Naruto's breathing was ragged and the armor itself seemed to be alive with heavy breathing. I'm reaching my limit, he informed her in between breaths. Suddenly a large buildup of chakra caught everyone's attention as Zabuza arrived and moved to kill Yugito. Yugito turned but knew she couldn't do anything and closed her eyes. Lariat. Karabi appeared from the side and delivered a fatal blow to Zabuza's chest, much to everyone's surprise, especially Haku's. Zabuza-sama, Haku shouted as she ran to her fallen mentor's side. Haku, Zabuza rasped out. What's going on over here, Yugito, and who are these weirdos? Karabi questioned as he looked over at the two knights. The white one is Naruto, but the other one is the enemy, Yugito replied. I see, then leave it to me, Karabi said as his skin started to tear itself apart and condense around him. A few seconds later a giant ox with 8 tails tentacles appeared and roared at the Black Knight. Now look upon me, the Rakan Hachibi, the ox roared. This is not turning out like I had planned at all, Yami thought and glared hatefully at Karabi and Naruto. I don't think I care to face a knight and a tailed beast today, maybe some other time. We will meet again, Naruto, Yami declared and flapped his wings. He took to the sky a moment later and started to fly away as fast as he could. He's getting away, Yugito shouted out. Not if I can help it, Naruto growled out and raised his shield. It glowed blue as the crystal in its center started to gather chakra. Raiten, Feinaruyoshian, a white blast of pure chakra lanced out of the shield and shot after the fleeing Black Knight. It hit its target and exploded upon contact, but after a few moments of silence it quickly became clear that Yami had escaped. Damn it, he got away, Naruto growled out in frustration. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Not when we need to find out about this little bit, Karabi said as he gestured towards Naruto's form. Naruto's shield flashed blue 3 times before his form was engulfed in light. It died down a few seconds later and regular, human Naruto stood in its place with the normal Raijin in hand. He sighed as he dropped to his knees, breathing harder than ever and feeling beyond exhausted. Karabi retracted the Hachibi's chakra and dropped down beside his tired student. You alright, Naruto? Are you gonna puke, yo? Karabi asked him as Naruto's breathing stabilized slightly. Just give me a minute, Naruto waved him away. Well, they've certainly made a mess out of you, Zabuza, spoke an arrogant voice from the edge of the battlefield. What a pity. Oh well, I wasn't going to pay you anyway. Everyone turned to see an army of mercenaries and a short but fat man at the front of the crowd. Gato, Zabuza rasped out in anger as he turned his head towards the businessman. What are you doing here? He growled. This isn't how I had planned it, but plans aren't always foolproof, Gato replied. After this lot destroyed my base, I decided to make this personal, and here we are. You must have guessed I never intended to pay, and now that you've made me lose more money than I can forgive, well, to put it simply, you're all going to die here, and now. Zabuza gritted out in pain as he rose to his feet. A war cry escaped his lips as he grabbed the Kubikiri HMCHM and charged towards Gato and his mercenaries. Wait, Zabuza-sama, Haku called out as her mentor assaulted the army of mercs single-handed. Haku. Zabuza shouted to her over the screams of death that followed the slaughter he brought. I release you from my service. You can do what you want from now on. He closed in on his target. This is my end, he said finally and cleaved Gato in half in one swift motion. Zabuza-sama, Haku said as she dropped to her knees. By now the demon of the mist was already impaled by multiple spears and swords but was still continuing to fight. Eventually he fell under the combined assault of the 100, formerly 200 mercs, and dropped to the ground with his mask sliding off to reveal his face one last time. "Damn, that bastard just killed our meal ticket," one of the mercs said. "Let's kill them," another merc shouted. "You think you can take them while we're here?" Everyone turned to see Inari, armed with a crossbow and with at least 300 villagers behind him. "Run away," the mercs shouted as they turned and fled towards the harbor where their boats were located. "It's over," Yugito sighed in relief. Zabuza-sama Haku whispered as she knelt down beside her fallen mentor. Snow started to fall as she cried, "I was supposed to be his tool, nothing more." Silence fell on the gathered group as they paid their respects to those that suffered this day. Yami Naruto clenched his fists at his side as he gazed up at the sky. The clouds parted to allow the sun to shine through. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. If you want the next part of this story, let me know in the comment box. See you next time, till then sayonara.